have to chat with the one and only Michele Cummins. After all, it is the Cummins Real Estate Group show. How are you doing, Michele?
Doing great, Chris. How are you, Mr. Pope?
I am doing excellent. I'm looking forward to talking today because I know we have an election coming up in not that far of a distant future, and I know that we're going to be talking a little bit about the politics with real estate here in the second half, and I know we have lots to talk about in the first half too.
Yes, and this weekend is early voting, so I have a few clients and people I know and myself who are going to get out and vote early. And I thought, what a better. There's no better time to talk about the hot real estate topics and the real estate industry's questions of their biggest concerns when it comes down to real estate regarding the federal elections and each party's stand on it. So the second segment of the show, I think we'll speak and talk about some quotes and some of the things that the Conservative Party and the Liberal Party are moving forward with, like their stance on certain real estate issues, of course. And then next week, we'll chat and get quotes from the NDP, the Green Party, and the People's Party. So cover all of them and make sure that we know some of the biggest issues for real estate is really affordability, and we will talk more about that later. But first, I wanted to say today is a great day to go to the races. Have you ever been to the Mission Racetrack?
I have been to the Mission Raceway a few times. I've even got to do a couple exhibition kind of goofy races there in a side-by-side and a quad for promotions.
Oh, that is so cool.
And I will let you know that the 2 times we've done that, I have won all the races.
Okay, you have to let me know when you do that again. Is that on the radar anytime soon?
Well, we haven't done it for a while. The first time we did it, we did a quad against a smart car. No, sorry. First time we did a quad against a side-by-side. Second time we did it was a side-by-side against a smart car. That's how we did it, yeah.
I want a side-by-side. That sounds fun.
They move pretty good, but the problem is that, my coworkers and my old boss, they were not aware that I like to go fast. And so I get on the quad and I realize that this thing can do 60 miles per hour. That I'm going to hit 60 miles per hour on that quarter mile.
Of course.
My boss didn't like that.
Oh, no. One look at you and I knew you were a fast racer. Like, I just knew it.
I had a leather jacket. I had a helmet. What more do I need?
Well, last night, going to the Agassiz, the oval track, I'm telling you, they have so many great races there. And the Mission has so many, like, just not the quarter mile, but they've got all the other stuff, too. They've got so much going on in the motorcycle races and just so much fun stuff. But I actually I've been able to sponsor our local race team in Mission, and I've had the pleasure of supporting them. And my unfortunately retired for me, vehicle salesman, his name's Larry Sproul, and he is amazing. I've purchased so many vehicles from him, but he was a racer, a professional one, and his son is a professional racer today, travels everywhere and does it. So, and I've got a client who is also a racer in Mission, and she is racing today and tomorrow at the track. And actually, they opened up the gates when we started our show at 8 a.m. this morning. So just a few minutes ago, and it goes till 5 p.m. It's 9 to 5, the races, but the gates open at 8. And again tomorrow. So I'm going to actually go out there and support her, and I'm so excited. But, yeah, I love going to the races whenever I can.
Yeah, I grew up in a racing family. My dad used to work in pit crews and occasionally raced. Didn't tell my mom that, but he occasionally raced. My brother raced quarter midgets as a kid. I did very briefly before I decided I wanted to play baseball. And, whenever there's a chance to get behind the wheel at, like, the Agri-Fair, demolition derby race and stuff like that, I'm always the first one with my hand up.
You're too cool for school, I tell you, Chris. I remember you telling me all about that. Your dad is so cool.
Yeah, he loves racing and always has, and has always been a big fan of it. And so I kind of followed me and my brother too.
You got cool genes, I tell you.
Well, I don't know about how cool we are, but we do like to get in cars and legally, in legal places, drive fast, because other places it gets expensive if you drive too fast.
It's true. Oh my goodness. Richard's brought out the generally, we should do that again, just on the quarter mile on Fridays in Mission. Haven't done that in a long time. But the Daytona, too, he's done that, our 2006 one. But I have to get out there sometimes.
And that's got the Hemi in it, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, so it can go.
Yeah, it's got the collaboration system. So you got to, like, undo the battery for a bit, then put it back on, and then really drive the heck out of it before the show.
Right.
Before the race. Otherwise, it's like, yeah, it runs like Granny if you allow it to.
Which is good when you're on the highway with it.
Yes, it saves a lot of gas when you have a Hemi. So I love that about it. Okay, so I wanted to talk right now about some changes in the housing rules for ALR land. So
well, now that's important in the Valley because we do have a lot of ALR land around here.
We do, and it's one of the reasons it's so beautiful and gorgeous. And go on a motorcycle ride and just feel the breeze in your hair and just look at all the farmland. It's gorgeous. I love where we live. But yes, so really important news regarding agricultural land reserve. So the new rules are coming into effect December 31st, so the end of this year, and it will bring beneficial changes for property owners in the ALR according to the provincial government. So this is a quote. Options for an additional small secondary home have been added to regulations, allowing farmers and ALR landowners to have both a principal residence and small secondary residence on their property with a streamlined approval process. Only permissions from local government or First Nations government will be required, and there will be no applications to the the Agricultural Land Commission. So the additional residence can be used for housing extended family. Agritourism accommodation is allowed as well. Housing for farm labor or a rental property for supplemental income. So this is really good news. There's no longer a requirement that additional residences must be used by the landowner or immediate family members, because before, or right now, up until December 31st, that's what it is. And I know that's been a big struggle and a hardship for a lot of ALR landowners. Examples of flexible housing options permitted under the regulation include, but aren't limited to, garden suites, guest houses or carriage suites, accommodation above an existing building, manufactured homes, and permitted a principal residence to be constructed in addition to a manufactured home that was formerly a principal residence. So there's obviously more information online about this that everyone can go onto and read further details about, but that is really exciting news. So if you're thinking about purchasing ALR land, know that these changes are coming into effect, which is really beneficial to you. So, yeah, that's the hottest news on the forefront.
Absolutely, and I know that is on, it really is top of mind to people out here in the Valley because we do have so much of that land, and it is so important to what we do around here with being agricultural, being so much of our economy. But yes, there is always some little changes and things that go on with that people need to know about.
And we're going to be talking, and everyone knows about the affordability of housing is hard right now. So these changes will also make it better for. There'll be rentals now that are allowed. There'll be more housing allowed on all those large ALR parcels of land. So it's great.
Yeah, because now that means that they can add a small guest house or something like that, and help pay the mortgage maybe, because let's face it, farming isn't always the most lucrative of professions, but it's needed. Exactly. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, I know that we have a big second segment. Now, we're running a little bit early now, but should we maybe take the break now and then come back with our big action-packed second segment?
Let's do that.
All right, we'll take a quick break. So first off, if people want more information about what you do as a realtor, where can they go?
MichelleCummins.ca.
And we'll be back with more right after this.
She's somewhere gone.
Estate Group show with local rock star realtor Michele Cummins and myself, Curtis Pope. All right, now I know we have a pretty weighty topic to get into now because we're talking about real estate and the upcoming election and some of the platforms of some of the parties, Michele. So this is probably going to take some explaining.
It is. Okay, so one of the biggest issues is affordability, and that's due partly and a lot by low supply and high demand, and making it harder for people to purchase, such as this stress test that they implemented. One thing is we need to make it a bit easier for builders and developers on the local levels to build more housing. I mean, we have heard, on this show, we've made stats, we've mentioned the outlook of what the immigration growth and how growth is happening just naturally and in all different ways here, and that means we need more housing. So the real estate industry responds to federal parties, and so I wanted to read a bit about what that looks like. So the general public understands and knows what the real estate industry is trying to implement and trying to help regarding affordability. So this is their response to the federal party. So unsurprisingly, housing has been a hot issue during the federal election campaign, and the real estate industry hasn't been shy about chiming in, with RE/MAX, the latest to jump into the fray and proffer advice to campaigning parties. And for those of you that may not know, I am with RE/MAX, and so this bit is a quote from Elton Ash. He's our executive vice president of RE/MAX Canada. So he says, "I don't believe the government should always get involved unless there's an economic crisis, which is not the case here." So he's also said, and on the campaign's website, where should government involvement lie? In assisting developers build products and removing red tape. We need less government intervention, not more. We need less taxation, not more. A supply-side solution needs to be a collaborative effort across all three levels of government. And this has been chimed by not only Elton Ash of RE/MAX Canada, but as well the industry in general and pretty much in whole across Canada. The Liberal Party recently floated the idea of prescribing bind bidding, which drew the Ontario Real Estate Associations. And while RE/MAX is open to transactional transparency, it is against legal prohibition. So it turns out Ontario's Real Estate Board and RE/MAX aren't the only ones. As mentioned, it's pretty much across the board. A statement from the president of the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board said, "It is critical, however, that government actions be carefully considered to ensure that they aid in solving these challenges directly and do not create a host of additional challenges. Consumer choice and consumer privacy should be paramount in shaping government policy. Federal public policy should recognize the rights that consumers have to privacy and should allow them to consent to the disclosure of personal information instead of penalizing home buyers and sellers. Punishing home buyers and sellers for wanting to keep their financial decisions private for the largest transaction of their lives is a substantial overreach of the government." RE/MAX acknowledges that Canada has a housing affordability crisis and suggests that the solution could come through a national housing strategy that would prioritize growing supply. To do that, a coordinated approach between all three levels of government would be required. Moreover, the strategy should involve tax rebates and easing red tape. RE/MAX noted that in Toronto and Vancouver, it can take up to 2 years. And that's not the only areas. It can take up to 2 years to get a project approved, as well as incentivizing developers to build homes that families can move into without breaking the bank that are situated near transit hubs. But without springing into action quickly, Canada won't just have an issue with affordability. It will have a home ownership problem, especially for younger Canadians. First-time home ownership has always been a struggle. There's currently no economic crisis, said Elton Ash. In terms of what we know today, our government has staved off a market crash with responsible lending practices and by keeping the interest rate low. Federal regulators have responded responsibly in that area. The concern is that the health the Canadian housing market doesn't become just a political platform with up to a 4-year window. This needs to be a long-term strategy, and it's really it's all three governments. They all have to make this happen. So I wanted to now jump into this week. Let's see what the British Columbia Real Estate Board Association and the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board Association, members of which I am with, along with CREA, Canadian Real Estate Association, is asking each party when it comes to real estate issues. So this week we're going to talk, see what the Liberal Party has to say and the Conservative Party. And if we can move on, the next three, I think it will be next week. So keep watch, the NDP, Green Party, and a People's Party.
So it's a two-part. I don't think we've ever had a sequel to a show before.
I don't know if we have either.
This might be a first for us.
It could be. I like first.
This is exciting.
Keep it exciting.
I love it. All right. A two-parter. I love it.
So, and I used to be on the government relations committee for almost 5 years, Curtis. And so I would go to I'd be the one asking the questions, and I, it was a lot, and I loved it, and all for real estate rights. So it made a big difference, and I got to see some differences. So yeah, this is really important stuff. So okay, the Liberals. So some points that they are that they're moving forward with is they want to build and preserve or repair 1.4 million homes in 4 years. So not sure what that looks like, because build, preserve, or repair. So those words. Also, they want to double the first-time home buyers tax credit from $5,000, what it currently is, to $10,000. They also want to allow Canadians under 40 years old to save up to $40,000 in what is being called a tax-free first home savings account and use the money to purchase a first home. Also, they want to introduce a multi-generational home renovation tax credit for families who want to add a secondary unit to their home for an immediate or extended family member to live. Families will be able to claim a 15% tax credit and up to $50,000 in renovation and construction costs. Then they want to temporarily ban foreign ownership in Canada, and this is one that is a bit of an issue for it's going to help with affordability in some way, but also when you ban foreign ownership, then that causes a whole bunch of other problems, and that's you just gotta. It's sometimes things sound great when it's just given to you, but then you look at the ripple effects, and you got to look at all the ripple effects that it may cause. So anyways, they want to temporarily ban foreign ownership in Canadian housing for 2 years, unless purchase is confirmed to be for future employment or immigration in the next 2 years. So that's kind of their stance on it today. And also, they want to establish an anti-flipping tax on residential properties, requiring properties to be held for at least 12 months. Also, reduce the price charged by the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation on mortgage insurance by 25% for new buyers. And then lastly, what we have that they stand for real estate issues is they want to introduce a rent-to-own program. The plan calls for $1 billion worth of loans and grants to develop and scale up rent-to-own projects with private, not-for-profit, and co-op partners. So pretty interesting. And then a quote we have from Kelly Vilonis out of Chilliwack for the Liberal Party. Her quote is, "We have done great work so far, yet there is still so much more work to do to make housing affordable for all." She also has, quote, "Now is not the time to change course. It is time to continue with a plan that has shown progress, a real plan that is working and will continue to work." So the questions that the British Columbia, let's talk about our local board, the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board, the two questions that they want to ask all parties is, number one, how will you work towards implementing the report recommendations such as making new infrastructure investments conditional on official community plans, zoning bylaws, and other local policies to allow for increased density and a mix of housing types. Because, again, this first question and our second question all has to do with affordability, just right down there. Sometimes things are can be simple, and you just need to change a couple things to make a big difference. So that's one of the questions they want to ask. And in tandem, they're going to ask, because the parties they're getting our answers. Actually, we probably have them next week for you. So we'll have them here on the show most likely. But right now we don't have the answers to these questions. But in tandem, the other question is, would your government implement a national housing roundtable with all levels of government, builders, real estate professionals, and civil society organizations to address the housing challenges facing Canadians? So that's actually in tandem with that first question. And then the official second question, though, is they say for many Canadians, homeownership is out of reach. Lack of housing supply is the root issue, but there are measures that can help make owning a new home affordable, such as increased incentive and the ability to borrow to fund home purchases. So the question is, how would you respond to critics who argue housing affordability is a provincial and municipal issue that can only be solved with solutions at the local level, and that the federal government has limited levers to help Canadians with their housing issues? And what is your party planning at a federal level to help Canadians finance their first home purchase and realize their dreams of owning a home? So these are the questions that, the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board is there for the general public. Realtors are here for home sellers and buyers. So we are all here to actually, help real estate stay good, and any issues that there are, we want to help out with as much as we possibly can. So I wanted to make sure the general public knew what questions we're asking specifically in the short time that we get to ask the questions, and make sure you know the answers from each party so that you can make the best decision when you go to vote. And so let's then go to the Conservative Party and what their stance is on some real estate concerns and issues. So the Conservatives say that they want to build 1 million homes in the next 3 years. Interesting, they just used the word build. They're just not the Liberals had mentioned preserve or repair as well, but really it's, we need more homes. Some homes that, need a little renovation, that's really not our issue. It's we need more homes. So anyways, that's the difference in the 1.4 million that the Liberals mentioned to the 1 million that the Conservatives mentioned. And then as well, they say they never want to tax Canadians the capital gains on the sale of their principal residence, because I know some other parties are saying that they do want to tax us on our our primary residence. So they're against that. Then they want to fix the mortgage stress test to stop discriminating against small business owners, contractors, and other non-permanent employees, including casual workers. And actually, furthermore, I had heard last week that they want to actually take away the stress test altogether. And then they also say that they want to ban foreign investors not living or moving to Canada from buying homes for 2 years. So, that's their stand on that as well. So, conservative leader quote. So, Mark Strahl from Chilliwack, he's quoted, "It's time to face the fact we have a housing crisis in Canada." It's true. And then he's quoted, "The primary cause is that supply simply isn't keeping up with demand." And Shaw also said, "We need to treat this like the crisis it is. Years of study and delay will just leave more and more Canadians and newcomers trapped in inadequate or insecure housing. We need shovels in the ground, building enough housing, not just to keep up with, but to get ahead of population growth." And it's so true. So, though that is the Conservative parties and the Liberal Party's stance on some real estate issues. And so next week we'll get into, because I wanted to mention before we end here quickly, a new listing. And my open house is this weekend, so any questions about that, get a hold of your constituent's office and ask your MP any questions that you may have when it comes to real estate issues or the betterment of your life and your livelihood. Okay, so new listing I have is this 55-plus condo in Abbotsford. It's on the top floor. It's facing south. It's got really nice views. The view of Mount Baker. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom. It's on for only $228,900. It's just under 1,000 square feet. It was built in 1981, and there's all brand new flooring in it, so it's quite nice. And actually, remember, it's top floor. That's great. But only one owner there has to be 55 or older. So the second person or whoever else lives there does not have to be of that age. So that's good to note. And then today I'm going to be at an open house on an amazing 5-acre place in Mission. The address is 9982 Saunders Street, and the open house is today from 2 to 4. And this is subdividable. It's adjacent to trails, government land, and ATV, just gloriousness. And you can mountain bike this crazy area, wonderful area. The property is private. It is so private, and it's got only 1 year old, so 1 year new home. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom rancher, and you can put a carriage house on this property. And right now, it has a gigantic 3-bay workshop that has 200 amp service, which is a separate 200 amp service than they have to the house. They're individual metered. There is a drilled well that is deep, 250 feet deep, supplying 30 gallons per minute of quality water. And so everything's new. The septic is newer. The workshop's roughed in for a bathroom, which is connected to the main septic system. This place is fantastic. So come out and have a look at it. It is $2,780,000. And then tomorrow I have an open house at 36285 Ridgeview Road, brand new listing as well, pretty much. It's only been less than a week. And it's on 10 acres, and it's just a few properties from the Cascade Falls. So you can walk to the falls in the winter and any time of the year. It's wonderful, actually. I never thought of going to Cascade Falls in the winter, but it's gorgeous. Both summer and winter and all year, actually. But yeah, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, gigantic workshop that's attached to the huge deck, which is attached to the house. And it's got barns, it's got greenhouses, it's fantastic. And it's got an unauthorized suite. It's almost 2,000 square feet, built in the 80s as well as the condo that I have. And so, yeah, I'm there on Sunday tomorrow from 1 to 3. So those are the new listings. And lastly, Curtis, we love the Gaines, and I have a quote from Joanna Gaines.
Excellent. I love it. Let's hear it.
It's the world needs who you were made to be.
I like that one.
Simply, yes, the world needs you who you were made to be.
Very cool. All right. Well, if people want more information about you and what you do as a realtor, or have questions about the things we talked about here on the air, where can they go?
MichelleCummins.ca.
And join us again next week when we will talk real estate in order to unlock your real estate potential on the show where real estate is maximized. Thanks for listening.